3 days of practice this week. What you got coming up for you this Saturday, and then we'll throw it out to some questions. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, just got off the practice field here a couple of minutes ago, and we've had a couple good days of prep for Colorado State. Good football team coming to town. It's coming off of a big win against a good Toledo team. But we've had a couple real good days of preparation. Tomorrow, as you guys probably know, is a day off for the guys, and then we'll be back Friday to try to tune things up and get ready for Saturday. So we'll be anxious to get back into Kenneck and be in front of our fans again and be ready to go. Looking forward to it.
All right, Coach, the first question this morning is from Scott Dockman.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah. Good morning, Jay. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I know Iowa typically tries to play its best football as the season progresses and gets into October and November, and a lot of that is by playing teams that have different styles that you might have to prepare for at a later point. It seems like Colorado State is somewhat like Wisconsin in the way it runs its Power O and a lot of pulling. How you feel like your defensive line can compete with that based on what you've seen thus far, and how will this help you as the season progresses? Because again, you might have Wisconsin and even Minnesota has elements of that.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely different than the first 3 weeks of preparation, just because, as you mentioned, the philosophy and style of how they play offense is so different. Fortunately, we see variations of versions of that from our own football team. Not exactly like it, but somewhat like it as we, work against our offense during training camp and the little bit that we do once the season gets going. So we're built for it. The biggest thing is, though, is we haven't been in a game situation against a team that plays that style of offense. So it's going to be new to the guys. We've talked about it, prepared them for it, obviously practiced against their plays. Now we've got to make sure that we're able to go out there and do that. But for a group of D linemen that's relatively young in terms of the guys that are getting into the game and getting reps, it's going to be a challenge fundamentally, technically, for them to learn to play, with the right kind of leverage and pad level and hand placement and all the things you got to do against a hard-run football team like Colorado State.
Coach, the next question is from Tom Kakert.
Hey, Jay. Hope you're doing well.
Good, thank you.
Last year was kind of a weird year for you guys from a recruiting standpoint. I know that's part of your job to get out and see guys, and you weren't able to do that. How helpful has it been for you to be able to get out to high school games on Friday nights now and get to evaluate players in person?
That's great. We've been out several times now, and we'll continue to go out. And you just can't really put a value on what it means to go out and do a live evaluation, have that opportunity. As you mentioned, last year was all really looking at huddle films and things that guys would send in, personal workouts or what have you. Everything was digital or video. And so to be able to get back out there and just have a presence among the Iowa high school football fans and to be in the stadiums and around the coaching staffs and the players it's just really refreshing getting back to that, and we appreciate having the opportunity to do it and look forward to continuing that as we get on throughout the course of the season. But we're certainly making our way around to see as many games as we can, and like I said, we'll look forward to doing that more and more as the season continues.
The next question, Jay, is from Leah Van.
Hey, Leah.
Hi, Jay. Hi. So we were talking to Kyler Schott yesterday, and he was talking about how he reviews film with Logan Lee, and they kind of compare notes on what they see from each other from across the line. I was wondering if you could elaborate for what kind of insight can your defensive line gain from going through film with members of the offensive line, and how often does this happen?
Well, that particular interaction happened on an informal basis because I didn't know it did happen until you told me 5 seconds ago. So, but our meeting rooms are all right beside one another up and down the hallway, and it's commonplace for guys to be in each other's meeting rooms outside of the time that we meet with them. So I'm sure there's a lot of that going on, and I don't think that you really can necessarily, again, put a value on the insight that you can gain from having a person from the other side of the ball talk about what they see and some of the things that they have to take into consideration be it through going against each other in practice or something they might see out of an opponent on video. But that's great interaction. I think it's good, it's healthy. And again, there's some insights that guys can glean from one another that you wouldn't get by just sitting in your own position meeting and talking with guys in your own position group. So there's a lot of value to that. And, because we have a close-knit team, I'm sure there's quite a bit of that going on.
The next question, Jay, is from Chad Leistico.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, Jay. Thanks for doing this. Real quick, and then I have a follow-up. Is any update on Logan Jones? How's his recovery coming along?
Coming well. He just transitioned back into practice a little bit last week, not in pads, but then this week he's actually done everything. He's been out there in the same equipment as everybody else, going through all the same drills, doing everything, and so far so good. He's got along real well. He's got some rust to knock off and all that, I'm sure, to get himself back up to where he was prior to the injury, but he's doing well, and most important thing is physically he's moving around and doing everything that all the other guys are doing. So far so good.
That's good news. And then on a similar note, unfortunate injury to Ethan Herkett the other day. Where do you see those reps going? Because I know he was doing a real nice job for you.
Yeah, he was. He was like Deontay Craig. He was probably getting somewhere in the vicinity of 15, 20 snaps a game, something like that. So we had a 5-guy rotation going on prior to his injury. This puts us in a 4-man rotation, which is pretty normal. But we do have brought some other guys up that were scout team players, that have taken some reps if in the event we need to use a 5th guy in the game. We've got a couple players who have repped and could help us out if that's what it comes to. But, we're still 8-9 deep in there in totality. And we also have some guys from the inside, like Lucas Van Ness, for example, has played inside, and we moved him out and gave him some practice snaps at end this week. So we do have the flexibility to do that as well. So I think we're covered. We're sure sorry about Ethan's injury, and that's nothing you ever want to see happen to anybody. But we've got a plan in place to move ahead, and I think we're in good shape.
Jay, the next question from Kennington Smith.
Yep. How are you doing?
Hey, Coach. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. So my question is, coming into this year, there was a lot of questions about the defensive line replacing guys, Chauncey Bolson, Davion Nixon. For these younger players, less experienced players, what is that process like of building them up, building up their confidence throughout fall camp to where you entered into the season and had a pretty large rotation of guys that you trusted to go out there and do a good job?
Well, it's a day-to-day process, and it started all the way back last spring. Obviously, when you get to the conclusion of one season and the beginning of another, it's obvious that some of those players that have been successful here in the past aren't here anymore, and you just got to pick up and move along. But I think the biggest thing that Coach Bell and I have tried to do and impress on these guys is just the importance of building a fundamental base and making sure that you're stacking good days and then good weeks of practice together, which they did throughout the spring and have done so far throughout the fall. And it's just really a matter of corrections and reinforcements. When they make a mistake, you have to explain what it was and why it happened. This is what you need to see have done differently for them to be successful. And it's really just it seems probably kind of a boring answer to the question, but there's no real, you can't pour pixie dust on it and just make it happen. It's just a day in and day out process of interaction and going through practice film and the things that we've got to do to get them ready to play. So the biggest thing about these guys is they've come to work every day with great attitudes. They've worked hard. They've wanted to be coached, and I think that's got a lot to do with the progress that they've made. And as long as they're open to that, and we've got this thing, the needle point in the right direction, we'll be in good shape. But we're far from a finished product, but we certainly like the start that we're off to.
Coach, the next question is from John Steepy. He's new to the Hawkeye beat from the Cedar Rapids Gazette, so please welcome John.
Yeah, welcome, John.
Thank you. Hope you're having a good one.
I am.
So what have you seen? You were mentioning Lucas Van Ness earlier. What have you seen from him in the first 3 games?
Well, he's a unique guy physically because he has really good length and size, but he also runs very well for someone who's built like he is. He's got good explosiveness. He's even being used on some special teams at 6'5" and 265 or 70 pounds. He's fluctuating somewhere in that range. So he's got really good movement skills for a guy his size. And frankly, once he gets a few more years in the system with the weight program and so forth, he's going to grow into be even a bigger guy, obviously, than what he is right now. But a real student of the game. Again, like these other guys, very coachable, hardworking, and his best football is certainly out in front of him. But he's got a good knack for rushing the passer, and he's obviously made his presence felt there with a couple sacks and some good production that way. But he's also coming along well in the run game, and like with all these young guys, it's just a day-to-day process of trying to improve.
Next question, Coach, is from Scott Dockman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, I wanted to ask you kind of about Logan Pete. He's been able to stay healthy and now started the 3 games for you. What has kind of determined that he gets the first batch of reps there? And then secondly, Y.A. Black, who I know there was a lot of excitement about in the spring, and he's had to fight through some weird injuries. And what's his progress as well?
Yeah, Logan has gotten off to a good start. He's been a pleasant surprise. Not that we're really surprised by that, I guess. But with him being dinged up and missing a lot of spring, and just having some of the injury issues that he's had in the past, we haven't really had the opportunity to get with him and allow him to create a body of work for himself without interruption over the course of his time here. So it's been all chopped up. So it's been good to have him be able to practice and play on a consistent basis without interruption. And I think that what he's doing out on the field is just a byproduct of the fact that he's had those built-up repetitions and stacked days and weeks that he's been able to build on everything without getting sidelined. So we're happy with where he's at, and he's doing a good job. Because of YA's injuries and some of the things that he dealt with, he just that put Logan ahead of him coming out of the gate, because YA really wasn't even ready to play until we were deep in training camp from an injury recovery standpoint. So he was a little bit behind and is fast catching up and doing a good job, obviously getting some snaps in the game. But again, him being a year or two behind Logan and being like all these other redshirt freshmen, it's just a matter of him being willing and patient and able, which he is, all those things, to develop a good fundamental base and just eliminate some of the little things that prevent him from being good to great, if that makes sense. He's got a high ceiling. The best days are certainly out in front of him, and you can see the raw potential there and the ability there. But again, he's just, in the past, have missed so much practice and so much prep time that I think that you're going to see a real trajectory of improvement and more playing time from him as the season goes along, if things go the way we hope they will go for YA.
The next question from Tom Kakert.
Jay, I want you to put the dad hat on. What's it like to have 2 sons in the NFL, and who are you rooting for this weekend in Kansas City?
Well, yeah, it's a unique feeling, to say the least, to see the 2 of them going head-to-head on the field, and we're appreciative of the opportunity that they both have, obviously. I can't tell you who I'm going to root for from a team standpoint, but what does make it easy is, since they both play defense and they go against the opposing team's offense, all we have to do is cheer for the defense. So that makes it easy. No matter who's out there, if we cheer for the defense, we'll be cheering for one of our sons. So I can't get I don't know. My wife's going to be the one there in attendance. We're working and preparing on a short week for Maryland coming up, so I'm going to record it and watch it when I get home sometime Sunday night. And at that point in time, it'll all be over with. But hopefully they just enjoy the competition and stay healthy in the process. But it's been a lot of fun to see them get going.
Thanks, Coach. The next question is from Leah Van of the Gazette.
Sure.
Yeah, so I noticed that there's been a lot of obviously rotating personnel on the defensive line these past couple games. And I'm wondering, do you hope to continue to just rotate a ton of players, or are you hoping to kind of narrow it down to a more consistent lineup as conference play begins to start?
Well, I think we would like to play as many guys as we feel are ready to play, Leah. And I think what's happened these first 3 weeks will be a reflection of what happens, the remainder of the schedule, as long as the guys who are out there getting their job done, which they have been up until now, and there's no reason to believe that they won't continue to do that. So I think it just helps us, particularly late in the game, to have fresh bodies that we can continue to put on the field. Guys who are, situationally playing, pass rush downs or whatever, just helps keep guys fresh, helps give guys a role, keeps everybody plugged in. And again, as long as the quality of play stays where it needs to, we're going to continue to play a high number of people in there.
The next question, Coach, from Chloe Peterson.
Yeah, Chloe?
Yeah. Hi. Throughout the season, the defense as a whole has been talking about the whole next man in mentality and how close they are as a unit. What have you seen from the defense in their mentality throughout the first couple games?
Well, I think we've got a real close-knit group of guys, and not just talking about the D-line, talking about the defense as a whole, and really the team as a whole. But since we're talking about the defense, it's just really it's hard. Every year you got to kind of wipe the slate clean and reestablish your chemistry, because the people within the locker room are different every year. Some guys graduate and move on, others come in because they got signed to come in here and play. So you kind of got to start from scratch and build it, from there. But again, that process all started last January, went on throughout the spring and the summer. And I think we just got a great group of competitors and leaders and guys who are really invested in what we're doing and care a lot about, how they play and what the result is. And fortunately, these first 3 games, we've played some pretty good defense, and hopefully we'll continue along those lines. And I think, again, just their chemistry, their togetherness has a lot to do with that and how they feel about each other.
Coach, the next question from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Jay, the fact that you guys have lost so many guys over the last couple of years, quality NFL caliber players and some other really key reserves, yet going into this year and you had to face the teams you faced, Iowa State with a veteran offensive line, a great running game, good quarterback, and Indiana we know about, and then even last week with a different tempo. What's kind of been your overall assessment of the way they performed so far? I know you're not going to be satisfied or anything, and there's always a ton of mistakes, but the fact that they've been able to hold up as well as they have, what's your message and your thoughts about 3 weeks in about the overall unit right now?
Well, I think we're happy with the progress. Just if you look at it from a big picture, from a 10,000-foot view, it'd be hard to say that you're disappointed in any way, shape, or form. But, as you said, there's still mistakes being made and corrections that have to be made. And that's really an every day process. As long as we can, continue to go through that and, make strides as the season goes along, then I think we'll be happy with the end result when we get to that point. But, we're only 3 weeks in, and I think as, you hear about all the things that are going on nationally with the polls and all those things, and every year is just a little bit different because, you really don't know how good the opponents are that you're playing until you get to the end of the schedule and you look back on the games that you played against them and what they've done against other people. And at that point, I think you can really begin to have a feel for how good you were or you weren't, if that makes sense. So it's early. We got a long road ahead of us. We got a good football team coming to town. Again, we're happy with what the first 3 weeks have shown, but we've got a lot more out in front of us left to accomplish, and certainly not looking in the rearview mirror too much as just resetting the focus every week and trying to do a little bit better than you did the previous week in the upcoming game. So hopefully that's what we'll get accomplished.
Coach, we'll take 2 more questions. The first from Chad Leistico.
Okay, Chad?
Hey, being undersized at D tackle can sometimes be a knock, but in what ways maybe have you found that to be an advantage for you guys through 3 games?
Well, we're never going to be the biggest team when you look at the 2 deeps, probably on either line for that matter, offense or defense, but hopefully we have guys that bend a little better, maybe a little bit more athletic, maybe have a little bit better movement skills, some of those types of things, and I think that's where we really maybe are different than some other teams. Those things are real important to us in terms of line play on either side of the football. And so, if you can play with good fundamentals and if you can play with better leverage than the guy on the other side of the football, your chances of being successful are going to be pretty good. And so that's why we're such a fundamental-based program, and we spend so much time on the things that we do. You're just working against each other, O-line versus D-line. Vertical leverage, horizontal leverage, which is basically pad level and hand placement, and all the fundamentals that go along with that. So, we're not bigger, but hopefully we're maybe a hair more athletic than some of the people that we line up against. And at the end of the day, hopefully that plays out in our favor.
The final question this morning, Coach, is from Tom Caker.
Dave, I wanted to ask you about Joe Evans. Before the season, Phil said he wanted him to be a 3-down guy. He's been out there a lot for 3 downs. How has he translated? Is that held up, that he's been pretty solid being a 3-down guy instead of maybe a specialist?
There's no doubt. Joe's turned himself into an every down player, if that's what we need him to do. Going several questions back into the interview here, obviously we're rotating him in, and as well as a lot of these other guys. But whereas in the past we only rotated him in on 3rd down, now he's being rotated in on 1st and 2nd down as well. And so he's done a really good job, and this really started back in the springs. We noticed how he was improving his run defense and the fundamentals there that he has to carry over to be a good run stopper. Those things were happening for him. He's continued to make strides in that area. And in the first 3 games that we've played, when he's been put in those situations, he's done pretty well. So we're happy with that. He's become more versatile. And for that, it just increases his playing time and his value and all the things that, we're looking for him to do. But to his credit, he's worked really hard at it. It's been very important for him, I know on a personal level, to make those improvements. And so I'm happy for him. And we're looking to, see him continue to have success in that area, not just in the pass game.
All right, Coach, I'll speak for the group when I say thanks for giving us your time this morning.
You bet.
Good luck today.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay.